Welcome to Money Talks. This week we'll be discussing renovating and upgrading your property, how to deal with builders and tradesmen, what to watch out for, and ways of protecting yourself. Whether it's the property you live in and own or an investment property, chances are at some time you'll have to do some maintenance, upgrades or renovations on it. If you've recently acquired a residential property, be sure you factor in maintenance costs. The worst mistake a homeowner can make is moving into this new home and thinking all you have to do is make mortgage payments to the bank and nothing else has to be done. However, the smart homeowner will realise that a property has to be kept properly maintained to keep costs down over the years. As soon as you spot something that needs to be repaired or replaced, do it as quickly as you can. When these repairs are not done quickly, more often than not, by the time it becomes really urgent, the cost to repair or replace will probably be double or triple what you would have had to have spent when it first showed up. If you notice any moisture on any of your walls, take care of it immediately. Neglecting it can cause mould or mildew to occur, and getting the smell out and the damage repaired becomes an onerous task, to say nothing of dry rot that could develop, which could decimate your house altogether. So that's on a newer house. When you're thinking of buying an older property, even though you're required to have an appraiser come out and look at it, I'd strongly recommend that you get a structural engineer to give you an assessment of the condition of the property. There are many things that a structural engineer will pick up that are way beyond the knowledge and experience of an appraiser. I made this mistake with one of the first properties I bought. It was in an area that I knew was going to be developed, but had not yet seen the growth that was planned. I got the house for a ridiculously low price, and I was congratulating myself on my wonderful skill of negotiation. I was new to the business and had not even heard about structural engineers at the time. If I had, I would either have negotiated a much, much lower price for the house, or I'd have passed on it altogether. From the very beginning, everything that could go wrong with the house did go wrong. After my tenants were in, the ceiling in their bedroom fell down. The roof needed to be replaced, and the central heating system needed to be replaced. There was subsidence to the rear of the property, and the back doors, windows and walls all had to be replaced. The bathroom was so damp that mould kept appearing on every wall. In the end, I had to replace the bathroom. But upon removing the floor tiles in the bathroom, the builder noticed that there was dry rot underneath all along the floor into the kitchen. So I had to replace the kitchen as well. And at the same time, because my tenants had no kitchen or bathroom that was operational, I had to refund their rent and put them up temporarily in another of my properties. Lesson learned. Don't expect the appraiser to look at the structure of the property. He mainly looks at the price and not much else. Always get a structural engineer out when you're buying an older property, and not necessarily an older property. In New Zealand and the UK, for example, there are thousands of homes that were built in the last 10 years that are leaky because the builders used inferior materials. So I'd strongly suggest that unless you have a builder's guarantee for, say, 10 years for a new property, and even that is not necessarily guaranteed, especially as so many builders are going out of business right now, so have a structural engineer come and inspect your property anyway. The few £100s or dollars that you spend on his fee will be worth its weight in gold. When I just started my property investment company in the UK, I thought if a builder came highly recommended and he gave you an excellent price and did a nice job on that property, that you could expect this to continue. Not so. I had a rude awakening with not one builder, not even 2 or 3 builders, but with most of the builders who worked for me. In the beginning, I did take the precaution of getting 3 different estimates for whatever work was being done. But after a few repair jobs had been done to my satisfaction and done for less money than the competition, I forgot to be cautious. The end result was that each builder thought he'd established enough credibility and trust with me that he could now charge me top dollar for inferior materials and poor workmanship. It took a while to catch up, but eventually it did. It started with my first builder who was doing repair work on a different property when one of his first repair jobs developed problems. As this was an emergency situation, I had to hire another builder to look at the current problem. His diagnosis left me in shock. Everything that the first builder had done had to be ripped out and redone. And as if that were not bad enough, I also learned that he'd ripped me off on his prices, labour and materials, as all were inferior. So after several years of getting quotes from many builders And seeing that there's such a wide discrepancy in the pricing of the materials being used, I now have the builders give me quotes on their labour only, and I buy the materials. And it's mind-boggling to see the huge variance in prices from vendor to vendor and how much room there is for negotiating better prices. So to summarise, when you buy a home, make sure you factor in maintenance costs. Get repairs done as soon as they appear. If you're buying an older property, always get a structural engineer. Before buying even a new property, get it thoroughly checked out anyway. And even if you know your builder well, always get 3 estimates for every job. Don't go away, I'll be back shortly.